Hello, my name's Simon Kövesi. I've been asked to record a little bit of Lanark, a reading of Lanark for the Grey Day on the 25th of February, run by the Alasdair Grey Archive. And I've chosen a bit where Duncan isn't necessarily wrong, but he's appalling, as always. Duncan Thor is when he is right, he's still pretty repugnant and selfish and vain and self-important. And that's one of the reasons I love Lanark, is that the artist comes across as a bit of a dick, but also is completely compelling. What I also like about this scene is it's a clash between, which I feel all the time myself as an academic, between the genuinely core freedoms of art and creative endeavour, and the almost necessary restrictions and rules and regulations of institutions of any kind, academic, educational, employing ones, and all kinds of big bodies and big corporations, which of course that Lanark is in some ways centrally concerned with, the effects of the institution on the individual in both worlds, in Unthank and in Glasgow. Anyway, Duncan Thor here has been painting his mural for quite a while in the church, and the art school authorities have finally decided to call him out and catch up with him. He's received a telegram calling him to the art school at once because his diploma exam has started and he hasn't showed up. This is in chapter 28 of book 2. By the way, in my edition on page 322. Thor was left outside the office door for 10 or 15 minutes and ushered in by the registrar's secretary, an unusual formality. Mr. Peel and Mr. Watt were seated on the same side of a long table, a single chair facing them at a distance. Thor sat on it, and some seconds of tribunal silence ensued. The two men looked so solidly forbidding that he instinctively blurred them by unfocusing his eyes. At last the registrar said, "Have you any complaint about your treatment in this school, Thor?" "None. I have been treated very well." "Correct. Yet you have ignored our advice, flouted our authority, and not only obliged us to bend our rules, but actually to improvise new ones to avoid expelling you. Of course, we have been influenced by consideration of your health, and I don't mean merely your physical health." There was more silence, so Thor said, "Thank you, sir. When you started here, you signed an application form. That form was a contract you have renewed at the start of each school year. Society is upheld by contracts, Thor. All government, all business, all industry is the result of people making promises and working to keep them. In return for a steady grant of money, you promised to qualify for the Scottish Education Department Diploma of Painting. This school exists to award that diploma. Mr. Watt tells me you refused to sit the examination. But I finished it. Mr. Watt said, 'What will the other students think of the exam if you are allowed to pass on half a day's work?' Thor said, 'Mr. Watt, I realise that schools need examinations and admit that many students wouldn't work at all if they weren't rewarded with paper rolls printed by the government. And Mr. Peel, I've been thrilled to hear you defending contracts and promises, because if these weren't defended, we'd have mere anarchy. I cannot deny your truths, I can only oppose them with mine. This exam is endangering an important painting. It would be blasphemy to waste my talent making frivolous decorations for a non-existent liner. But I see your difficulty. You must uphold the art school, while I am upholding art. The solution is simple. Don't award me this diploma. I promise not to feel offended. The diploma is useless, except to folk who want to be teachers." Thor leaned forward to see the pleased light of agreement on the registrar's face, but it was so compressed and wrinkled that he sank back, feeling lonely. The registrar said, I have never in my life heard such a display of intellectual arrogance. You've made me more miserable than I've felt for many years. You have sat smugly declaiming that black is white and evidently expecting me to agree. I have no advice to give you, but I tell you this. If you do not return at once to the examination, your connection with the art school ends today and for good. Thor nodded and left the office feeling dazed. He went upstairs to the studio, trying to think of entertaining nonsense to add to the background of the examination panel. He climbed slower and slower, then stopped and turned. On the way down, he passed Mr. Watt coming up. They pretended not to see each other.